Tell me about your name. What does it mean?
Tupac. It means determined to overcome my obstacles.
You're doing a good job of it so far.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Selling records. This is what I do for a living. I'm selling records. Don't get it twisted. This is not my real life. This is not how my real life is supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be really having all these villains in my life.
Do you have an idea why Tupac was killed?
No, I don't.
Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25.
Rapper Tupac Shakur has passed away.
Commit homicide.
Don't get it twisted. This is not my real life.
Ongoing.
September 7th, 1996, 11:15 p.m. Shots are fired into a BMW at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Koval Lane in Las Vegas. Inside the vehicle is Tupac Shakur. Within seconds, the most influential rapper of his generation is critically wounded. The question is, who was behind it? Find out as we recount those moments, minute by minute.
Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world, it's showtime!
September 7th, 8:30 p.m., 1996. The MGM Grand Arena is filled to capacity. More than 16,000 spectators have gathered to watch the heavyweight championship fight between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon. The event has drawn celebrities, athletes, musicians, and media from across the United States, making Las Vegas the center of the entertainment world. Among those in attendance is Tupac Shakur. Just 6 months after the release of All Eyes on Me, Tupac is at the peak of his career. His music dominates the charts. His films continue to attract audiences, and his public profile has never been higher. Accompanied by Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight and members of his entourage, he arrives at the arena as one of the night's hottest profile guests. The atmosphere inside the arena is celebratory. Fans cheer as Tyson enters the ring, with many expecting another quick victory. Just over a minute after the opening bell, Tyson defeats Bruce Seldon by technical knockout, bringing the fight to an abrupt end. As thousands of spectators begin making their way through the casino and hotel, Tupac and his entourage leave their seats and head towards the lobby. For most people, the evening is over. For Tupac, the events of the night are only just beginning. Born in New York City in 1971, Tupac Shakur had spent most of his childhood moving between cities with his family. His mother, Afeni Shakur, had been a political activist and member of the Black Panther Party.
So you were right in the middle of the storm.
I'm still in the storm. I'm still in the storm. As a matter of fact, my mother wrote within a book. There's a book about my mother called Look for Me in the Whirlwind. I like to think that's my motto.
Growing up, Tupac developed an interest in acting, poetry, and music.
Was this always kind of an ambition of yours? Did you have the show business bug as a youngster?
I mean, I caught it then, but at the time, it just seemed like the fun thing to do, because I was 13, but I caught the bug when I got on stage and all those people was clapping, so that's when I got it. But really, I just enjoy expressing myself. Anytime I can express myself, I can let some of the pain go from a childhood like mine, so that's why I enjoy that.
And after moving to California, he found success in the emerging hip-hop scene. He first broke into the industry through Digital Underground, working as a dancer before moving into recording roles. In 1991, he released his debut album, Tupacalypse Now, through Interscope Records, with distribution support from Jive Records Network. His early records gained attention for addressing issues such as poverty, racism, and police brutality. As his music career grew, so did his profile. By the mid-1990s, Tupac had become one of the most successful and controversial figures in hip-hop. However, legal troubles continued to follow him. "8:40 p.m. One of the last recorded videos of Tupac, as he is seen waiting for Mike Tyson after the fight.
We're waiting on Tyson to come back there, and Pac's back there. He's all excited. You know, his boy just knocked out Selden. 50 blows. He just hit him 50 times. You count him. So, I'm back there with him and everything, and Suge is back there. So Suge says something to Pac, and then the next thing I know, we're leaving. Tyson didn't even make it out the ring to come down.
Everything up to this point felt like normality, until they arrived at the lobby. As Tupac walks through the lobby of the MGM Grand, a member of his entourage notices a man named Orlando Anderson standing nearby. Months earlier, Anderson had allegedly been involved in the theft of a Death Row Records chain belonging to Trayvon Lane.
Everyone shows up, and one of the homeboys, one of Suge's homeboys, his name is Trayvon, he comes over and he whispers something in Pac's right ear, because I'm on his left. He whispers something. Next thing I know, Tupac takes off running. He took off running, and I went off running behind him, and when he turned the corner, there was this guy standing there. Little did I know who he was. He ran up to him, and he swung. And then the guy swung back, and then Pac weaved, and then Pac swung again. And at this time, there was like 3 or 4 blows thrown. Tupac had this medallion on that he had recently purchased, and it broke. When it broke, he went down to pick it up. When he went down to pick it up, I grabbed him. When I grabbed him, I threw him against the wall, so I had him out of the fight. At this time, everyone else is running up, as clearly the MGM footage shows. The guy is Orlando Anderson, now that we know who he is. They're into this brawl. And I have Tupac against the wall now at this point.
The altercation lasts less than a minute. Hotel security quickly intervenes, separating those involved before escorting them from the area. No arrests were made. At the time, it appeared to be another brief confrontation involving well-known figures. Only later will investigators consider whether this incident would lead to something bigger.
I beat up the directors, the ministers decide. Let me tell the whole world.
All right, tell them why you did what you had to do.
These chump, punk, slump, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, you'll have a chance to come here and rebuttal to
No, they
that.
won't. They better come now. Check this out. They fired me, but did it in a roundabout punk snitch way. So I caught them on the streets and beat they behind. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
like, I was a menace to the East Brothers, and it ain't over. I still got more than chumps because I read what you said about me. Don't jump to the TV. Kick that TV.
By the end of 1994, Tupac Shakur's career had reached a turning point. While his music continued to grow in popularity, his personal life was becoming increasingly dominated by legal battles and public scrutiny. Appearing in court on charges of sexual abuse, Tupac maintained his innocence throughout the proceedings. insisting that the allegations against him were false.
311 on the calendar, Tupac Shakur.
That's fine. Perhaps make that 0-10 day.
010. All right, Mr. Shakur, you have
Hi, Tupac. How you doing? Can you tell me how you doing today?
Well, I just had to listen to the prosecution's closing argument, and it was just so far from the truth that it really just has me drained at the end of the day. But I'm leaving it in the hands of the jury. I'm learning a lot about people's innermost fears in this trial, because it's not even about my trial no more. It's just about loud rap music, tattoo having thugs. It's not even about me no more. It's about, you know, some nightmare that these people having.
She's talking about thug life and all that, trying to...
He's definitely guilty. Anybody with thug life tattooed on their stomach is guilty. What type of reasoning is that? You know what I'm saying? We got different backgrounds. We come from two different places. Just because I look different than her doesn't mean that I'm a sodomizer or a raper. They've said it in the... I can't understand why it's this close. They talking about there's no evidence that I ever sodomized her, even though you put that all over the paper. And every time they take a quote out of this courtroom, they take a quote from out of her mouth, which is, you know, the stuff to put me in jail. It's nothing that's been true. I just want print the facts so everybody can sort it out. My life is ruined because nobody has a chance to get the facts.
And the fact is that there was no semen found.
No semen found, no forcible entry, no entry into the anal, no nothing, none of that. You know,
and no fingerprints on the gun.
No fingerprints on the guns, you know what I'm saying? The only time ever there was an act of sodomy, she admitted she did it to me. I should be, you know, putting charges on this girl who sodomized me on the floor of a dance club. Why am I in court? You know what I'm saying? Get my life ripped apart. But I'm here, I'm gonna go through it just to show that I have faith in the American system. But for me to have faith in the American system, these juries and everybody else has to, you know what I'm saying, play the same role and to keep an open mind. I'm already convicted. My whole life has been turned around. I lost every job, I lost everything, every opportunity. I can't get buy cars, can't get rent, can't get none of that. But I'm still a survivor, you know, I'm still coming to court, still smiling, still signing autographs. But soon I'm gonna go crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it's up to the world. You know, America eats its babies. No matter what y'all think about me, I'm still your child. You know what I'm saying? You can't just turn me off like that.
How old are you, 23?
23.
So you feel that your career is...
Yeah, it is. Why would I own a gun? I've registered guns. You know what I'm saying? I'm a legal owner of guns.
In California.
In California. So I came to New York and wanted to be an illegal gun runner now. You know, that's what they want you to believe. I want to start erasing... Come on, man. This is all about my image. This has nothing to do with me. This is all about my image. It's like MTV, all the papers, they building me up. Now they destroying me on the same image that they perpetuated. You know what I'm saying? I'm selling records. This is what I do for a living. I'm selling records. Don't get it twisted. This is not my real life. This is not how my real life is supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be really having all these villains in my life.
November 30th, 1994, one day before Tupac's verdict, he arrived at Quad Recording Studios in Manhattan, New York.
Shakur was apparently attacked by robbers as he and 3 other men arrived at a New York City recording studio early this morning. A man identified as Shakur's manager was also wounded. Shakur and his road manager are currently on trial on sex abuse charges.
Tupac was shot 5 times, one grazing his head, and other bullets striking his groin, thigh, and hand. Despite his injuries, he survived the attack and later described fighting back during the robbery. However, upstairs that night, where several prominent East Coast artists, including Christopher Wallace, known professionally as the Notorious B.I.G., and Sean Puff Daddy Combs.
The Tupac article had me pissed off, you know what I'm saying? Because first of all, he dissed my man, said my man turned his back on him, and I know for a fact that didn't happen, you know what I'm saying?
Although neither man was harmed and both denied any involvement, Tupac became convinced that people inside the studio knew more about the attack than they admitted. The shooting changed the way Tupac viewed the people around him. Already dealing with the pressure of his legal case and growing public scrutiny, the attack deepened his distrust of those within the music industry.
And I mean, everybody that was there was very supportive of him. It was just the total opposite. As soon as he came out, everybody ran towards him. It was nothing but love and concern.
They got different accounts of what happened, and I'm the one with the bullet wounds.
After leaving the hospital, Tupac began publicly questioning why he had been targeted and why certain people present at the studio had not warned him. The incident became a defining moment in the conflicts that followed. What began as a violent robbery developed into a much larger dispute involving loyalty, betrayal, and the growing divide between different sides of hip-hop. For Tupac, the attack was not just about the injuries he suffered that night. It became a moment that reshaped his relationships and influenced the way he approached the final years of his career. The events at Quad Recording Studios would remain one of the most discussed moments in Tupac's life, not only because of what happened inside the building, but because of the consequences that followed.
I mean, God knows the truth.
There's no religion about getting shot. I'm not trying to get any converts.
At around 9:30 p.m., movement begins in and out of the hotel as people come and go, with no clear indication that the earlier altercation will escalate further. At this stage, investigators would later focus on one key question: whether the events at the MGM Grand were an isolated incident or whether they contributed to what would happen later that night. Between 9:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., there is a gap in the public record. Tupac is largely out of view of cameras during this period, and accounts from witnesses describe preparation, movement between rooms, and coordination with members of Death Row Records. By 10:30 p.m., attention shifts back outside the hotel. The convoy is now forming. Security vehicles take position. Suge Knight is preparing to drive the lead car, a black BMW. Tupac is expected to travel in the front passenger seat. As the vehicles are arranged, the tone of the evening changes again. There is no public indication of urgency or alarm. Las Vegas continues as normal around them, but the movement of the vehicles signals that the night is entering its final phase. At approximately 10:45 p.m., Tupac leaves the hotel, and the convoy departs into the streets of Las Vegas, heading east along Flamingo Road.
We get to Flamingo off of Las Vegas Strip. We got to turn right. We make a right off of the Strip. The next light is Colville. Little did we know that anything was about to happen. We pull up to the light. I am the second car. Actually, I'm the third car. One of Suge's homeboys was in front of Suge. which never, ever, ever happened with anyone being in front of Suge. Then another one of his homeboys, Trevon, was to the left of Suge, which would have been to his side of the car. So you got Trevon to the left, you have K-Dove in the front, and you have me in the back. And we're sitting at this light. It's September, it's hot, sticky, and we're all just sitting there pretty much just vegging out, waiting on the light to change. Then all of a sudden, I noticed this white Cadillac. Cadillac pulls up, and it was not like a thought of mine that something was about to happen. Then all of a sudden, this arm comes out. An arm comes out, and he just started firing immediately.
After the shooting, Knight was able to drive him and Tupac a mile to the nearest hospital, where they were pulled over by Bike Patrol Officer Chris Carroll.
They had Suge out of the vehicle on the ground, laying on the ground. And as I was approaching him, the blood was shooting up out of his head, right? So I'm yelling, let him up, let him up. He's with us. He was part of the entourage. So the cops go, who are you? I go, I'm the bodyguard. I go, I was with them. I'm the bodyguard. I go, he's a victim here. So they let him up. And when they let him up, Tupac is still sitting in the passenger seat. The door is still closed. The paramedics are over there trying to open the door along with the police. They can't get the door open. So Suge says, I can do it, it's my car, I'll open it. The door was actually stuck. So Suge got over there, opened the door, and we pulled Pac out of the car. When we pulled him out of the car, we lined him down on the side of the car, and I'm kneeling down at this time, and I'm talking to him like, Pac, man, Pac. And he's like, he's trying to breathe, and then he goes, I can't breathe.
Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25.
Rapper Tupac Shakur has passed away.
Commit homicide.
Don't get it twisted. This is not my real life.
Ongoing.
The Las Vegas police were not quick enough to react to Tupac Shakur's murder. Even failing to follow up with Yaki Gaddafi, a member of Tupac's entourage, who was there that evening, who claimed he could identify the assailant. It seemed too much of a coincidence that 2 months later, Gaddafi was murdered before he could give his damning statement. One theory comes from Russell Poole, a former LAPD detective. He thinks Suge Knight orchestrated Tupac's death. Detective Poole believes that Knight had his own reasons for the contract killing. Even though this may seem improbable, given that he was struck in the shooting, Knight owed Tupac a lot of money. Up to $10 million is indicated by some stories. Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mother, supports this hypothesis by suing Death Row Records in 1997 for mismanaging her son's money and withholding millions. The fact that Tupac planned to leave Death Row Records and fired his attorney at the time, David Kenner, who also served as Suge Knight's attorney and drafted Tupac's contract with Death Row Records, seems to provide more evidence for this argument. Knight also brought Tupac to the critical boxing bout just 1 week after the attorney was led off.
I saw no reason why anyone would sit in a vehicle or next to anyone that they would put a hit on someone and be sitting next to them with the bullets flying all through the car like it did that night. Suge was a target as well as Tupac was. I stick by that. I said that in my book. Why would I have put in Rolling Stone magazine or with this Detective Poole, as he said I said these things, why would have I told him these things when I didn't even put it in my own book? It would have gone in my book before it would have gone in Rolling Stone magazine. I'm shocked that Rolling Stone magazine would even print something like that without checking secondary source. They could have gotten a hold of me through my publisher. I never said that Suge Knight was one of the shrewdest gangsters. Suge personally never did anything to me. He treated security very well, as I've stated before. There was no beef with anyone in security with Suge Knight.
Despite statements from those close to the events that there had been no ongoing conflict involving Suge Knight or death row security that evening, investigators could not ignore what had happened just hours earlier at the MGM Grand. The altercation involving Tupac and Orlando Anderson quickly became a central focus of the investigation, with detectives examining whether the confrontation had been a spontaneous incident or the trigger for a planned act of retaliation. One theory comes from Chuck Phillips, a former LA Times journalist. He believes that Orlando Anderson, Biggie Smalls, and the Southside Crips gang were responsible for the murder. The LA Times investigated the murder for over a year and came up with the following findings. The Crips retaliated against the beating of Anderson by shooting Tupac. Anderson was the shooter. Biggie Smalls paid $1 million for the supplied gun and murder of Tupac. Biggie's motive for wanting Tupac dead? His year-long feud was well documented. He claimed on Hit Him Up that he had slept with Biggie's wife. That was reason enough. According to the investigation journalist, Biggie nor anyone who was affiliated with him was never questioned by the police. 6 months later, in March 1997, Christopher Wallace, a.k.a. Biggie Smalls, was shot and killed in downtown Los Angeles. Another theory was proposed by Greg Keating, a former LAPD detective assigned to the case in 2006, 10 years after the event. Sean Combs, a.k.a. Diddy, the CEO of East Coast Bad Boy Records, was whom he had held responsible for orchestrating Tupac's death. Detective Keating met with Crips gang member Keith Davis to confess on tape that P. Diddy paid him $1 million to carry out the murder of Tupac and Suge Knight. He also admitted that Orlando Anderson, who was in fact Davis's nephew, was the one who pulled the trigger. He also admitted to being in Anderson's car at the time of the murder. To quote Davis, Orlando rode down the window and popped them. Davis also said, "If they would have drove on my side, I would have popped them." Davis said that the motive for Diddy was fear and paranoia that Suge Knight would strike first. He further claimed that Diddy's anger at his diss track was the primary reason Tupac was added to the hit. Tupac consistently expressed his suspicion that Diddy was responsible for the 1994 massacre and its aftermath, which prompted him to contact him. Dexter Isaac, who was incarcerated for life, admitted in 2011 that he had been paid by a P. Diddy accomplice to rob Tupac that evening. P. Diddy had consistently refuted the assertion, saying that it is pure fiction and totally ridiculous. The case has not been resolved. It appears unlikely that the exact details of Tupac's death will ever be proved beyond a reasonable doubt in court. Given that most of the key players are currently either dead or surviving lengthy prison terms. However, that won't stop others from seeking answers. As investigators struggled to find answers, another theory began to gain attention, one that focused not on rival gangs, but on the people closest to Tupac on the night he was killed.
So all of the security that was going to be in town for the Mike Tyson Selden fight, we had a meeting that day. That day, we were told not to bring our weapons into the club after the fight, not to have our weapons on our person, to either leave them in our hotel room or to leave them in our vehicles.
The theory centered around Death Row Records' security team and the possibility that someone within Tupac's own circle may have had knowledge of the attack. At the center of this theory was Reggie Wright Jr. Wright was the head of security for Death Row Records and had previously worked in law enforcement as a police officer with the Compton Police Department. As someone responsible for protecting some of the biggest names in hip-hop, Wright was closely connected to the label and its artists, including Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. Following Tupac's murder, questions began to emerge about the security arrangements surrounding him that night. Some questioned why Tupac was traveling without a more heavily protected security detail, especially given his public profile, ongoing conflicts, and previous experiences with violence. Others questioned the decision not to have a larger security presence following the fight at the MGM Grand earlier that evening. These questions contributed to theories that the attack may have involved someone with knowledge of Tupac's movements and security situation. However, no evidence has proven that Reggie Wright Jr. or members of the Death Row security team were involved in Tupac's murder. Wright has consistently denied any involvement and has rejected claims that he played a role in the shooting. The theory gained further attention through statements from former associates and individuals connected to the case. They suggested internal conflicts at Death Row Records may have created tensions around Tupac during the final months of his life. At the time, Death Row was one of the most powerful and controversial record labels in the world. Behind the success of artists like Tupac, there were also disputes involving money, loyalty, and control. This environment created questions about who had influence around the label and who had access to information about Tupac's movements. But for investigators, theories alone were not enough. The challenge remained the same: finding evidence that could connect a person directly to the shooting. As the years passed, the security theory became one of several explanations discussed by the public. Alongside theories involving gang retaliation and personal conflict. But without arrests or confirmed evidence, Tupac's murder remained unsolved. The focus would eventually return to another name connected to the night of the shooting: Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. Whose own statements would later become central to the renewed investigation.
Movies, videos, the studio, those were the main three things that he was focused on, and he was doing it. We'd just be running around at 50 to 80 miles an hour, literally me driving behind him, following him to his appointments throughout that day. But we would always end up back in the studio, no matter what.
Tupac had a prophecy about his death, stating, "That's why I go in the studio and do 3 songs a day. Get things ready. If I die, it can happen. If anything were to happen to me, that album's ready to go." Believing that his death would be a tragedy, He envisioned it being like something from a Shakespeare play.
We look at death from a selfish side, like, you know, that guy died. Oh, it's so sad. Why is it sad? He's away from all of this bad stuff that's here on earth. I mean, at the worst, he's just somewhere quiet, no nothing. At best, he's an angel, or he's at the next existence, or he's a spirit somewhere, you know. What is so bad about that? It's only bad for the people who he left, because you guys are mad. That's like some crab in the bucket type stuff. I mean, it's a harsh analogy, but that's what it's like, though. People that are not involved with the street gang, with the drug trade, or the illegal business at all, you know, all that kidnapping and shooting drive-bys out the car, we against that. And people who perpetrate that, they have to deal with the consequences when they go to jail, because that's who's gonna enforce this code and the thug life that's on the street. It's like we cleaning up the dirt. I can't change what the dirt that's here, but I can put all this dirt in one corner. You know what I'm saying? Somehow have some order here. And for that, they need to give me a little leg room. You know what I'm saying? Let me do what I want to do, because nobody else is gonna do it. Nobody else wants to do it.
All right, you ready?
Yes, go for it.
Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'll stand right here in front of the car. Yep. Nope, we're going to put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right?
You got nothing on you, right?
Hooks. You have anything on you, sir? No. Right. Okay, yeah, we'll get you a drink. Hang on, all right? Just want to make sure you got no weapons on you or anything, okay? Separate the two, sir. Thank you. Put your palms together like you're clapping. I just want to make sure these cuffs can be all right on you.
Yep. You mind? Yep. Okay. I'll follow you.
So what they got you for, man?
Biggest case in Las Vegas history.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like recent?
September the 7th, 1996.
Oh, no. Wow. That's a long time. That's a long time away.
You know what I'm talking about,
yeah?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Not a detective quite yet, but yeah. It's a long time away, man. What was that? 20-some years? No, more than that. Yeah. Sure took him a while, huh?
Yeah. I ain't worried about it.
Well, I mean, that's what court's for, right?
The arrest followed years of renewed attention surrounding Davis, who had publicly discussed his connection to the night of Tupac's death, and admitted he was inside the vehicle from which the shots were fired. Prosecutors alleged that Davis played a role in organizing the attack, while Davis has denied being the shooter and has pleaded not guilty. For the first time since 1996, a suspect was facing criminal charges in connection with Tupac Shakur's murder.
27 years. 27 years. For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keefy D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Show my respect for Tupac. My brother was a good brother.
His words really give us strength to keep on moving and look forward to another day.
A lot of people touched by it, not just rap music artists, listeners, lovers, but a lot of people, older people, is touched by this. This is a sad.
They came early and stayed late in Harlem, even in the rain, to remember Tupac Shakur and to promote peace in a rap world of violence.
we here to say, well, let's make a turn from the bad to the good.
Nearly 3 decades after Tupac Shakur was killed on a Las Vegas street, the questions surrounding his death continue to capture global attention. From the moments the shots were fired, the investigation became surrounded by uncertainty, conflicting accounts, and years of speculation. But beyond the unanswered questions, there remains the impact of the person at the center of the story. Tupac Shakur was more than a recording artist. He was a musician, actor, activist, and one of the most influential voices of his generation.
I mean, I caught it then, but at the time, it just seemed like the fun thing to do, because I was 13, but I caught the bug when I got on stage and all those people was clapping, so that's when I got it. But really, I just enjoy expressing myself. Anytime I can express myself, I can let some of the pain go from a childhood like mine, so that's why I enjoy the acting.
His life became a reflection of the contradictions that defined him. Success and controversy, fame and conflict, admiration and criticism. His death at just 25 years old cut short a career that was still evolving. The music he created continues to influence new generations, while his story remains one of the most examined moments in popular culture. The investigation into his murder has entered a new chapter, but the events of September 7th, 1996, remain a reminder of how quickly a night of celebration turned into one of hip-hop's greatest tragedies. Tupac Shakur's final moments have been analyzed for decades, but his legacy has lasted far longer than the circumstances of his death.
I'm still listening. As a matter of fact, my mother was in a book. There's a book about my mother called Look for Me in the Whirlwind. I like to think that's my motto.
You know, out of the love for black people. So that's how I gotta live, and that's how I have to die. And that's how my music has to be, and my acting, and my producing, and my interviews, everything has to be for the love of black people.